Have you ever poured your heart into helping someone only to realize they had no intention of helping themselves? It's like offering a ladder to someone stuck in a well only to watch them sit at the bottom and complain about the rungs being too far apart. That moment when your good intentions collide with their unwillingness is where the journey into Stoic discernment begins. Because sometimes kindness alone is not enough. You must learn who to give it to and when to walk away. Now picture this, you're surrounded by people in need, some truly struggling, others simply acting. One blames the world for every misstep, another drains your energy with constant chaos, and yet another demands your support while offering nothing in return. They each wear different masks, but they all share one trait: they take and take until there's nothing left of you. Would you recognize them before it's too late? What if the real strength isn't in how much you give, but in how wisely you choose where to give? Modern Stoicism teaches that discernment is just as noble as generosity. To protect your peace, your energy, your time, you must learn to see the subtle signs of those who don't want change, just an audience. Because helping the wrong person doesn't make you noble, it makes you lost. And today, we'll explore exactly who those people are. Have you ever reached out to help someone only to realize they're not even trying to stand up? It's like you're throwing a life preserver to someone who's drowning, but they just sit there, arms crossed, insisting they're fine. That kind of person, the one who resists change, no matter how much support they receive, is what Stoicism calls the immutable. They're not just stuck, they choose to remain stuck. And if you're not careful, trying to rescue them might end up dragging you down instead. Picture this, you're on a ship that's slowly sinking. You see people panicking, scrambling for lifeboats, trying to survive. But one passenger is sitting calmly, not because they're brave, but because they refuse to believe the ship is actually sinking. You hand them a vest, tell them to move, even point to the lifeboats. But they just wave you off, muttering excuses, complaining about how cold the water might be. It's maddening, isn't it? You may have encountered this type in your own life. A friend, a colleague, even a family member. You've offered help, advice, countless chances. But nothing changes. Why? Because they don't want to change. Modern Stoicism reminds us that while our instinct may be to assist, we have to be wise about where we place our energy. Compassion is not infinite, and some people mistake kindness for a resource they're entitled to. In reality, their refusal to grow says more about them than it ever does about you. As Epictetus wisely said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And your reaction shouldn't be to fix someone who refuses to fix themselves. Set boundaries not as a punishment, but as a way to protect your own inner peace. Decide how much time and emotion you're willing to give, and more importantly, when to walk away. Because the truth is, you are not their savior. Instead of draining yourself trying to fix them, try something different. Ask questions that encourage them to reflect. Help them see their situation through their own eyes, not yours. Sometimes clarity begins when people hear their own answers aloud. But even then, some will hold on to their misery because it's familiar. And that's okay. The point is, you're not responsible for their journey, only your own. Letting go doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough about your own well-being to stop trying to carry someone who's determined to stay seated. Remember, you can throw the rope, but you can't force someone to climb. And when you finally release that weight, something beautiful happens. You reclaim your energy, your clarity, your peace. And now that we've seen how the immutable can wear you down without even realizing it, let's move on to the second kind of person who demands your help, but for entirely different reasons. The manipulators. Picking up from our earlier reflection on the immutable, those who resist change no matter how much help we offer, let's now go deeper into how we protect ourselves while still maintaining compassion. Because sometimes the wisest thing you can do is not to give more, but to pause and protect what's already yours: your energy, your peace, your purpose. Compassion is noble, but without boundaries, it can quietly become a burden. Helping others should never come at the cost of exhausting yourself to the point of emptiness. That's why it's crucial to decide beforehand how much time, effort, and emotional space you are truly willing to give. And even more important, to understand one essential truth from modern Stoic wisdom: you cannot help someone who does not want to help themselves. In many cases, what people really need isn't a solution, but a space to be heard. Offering your presence, your ear, can be an incredible gift. But don't confuse listening with fixing. You're not their savior, nor should you be. Carrying someone's emotional weight day after day can feel like walking through quicksand. It slows you down, pulls you under, and makes every step heavier than the last. Instead of offering advice, try guiding them inward. Ask thoughtful questions. How do they feel about where they are in life? What do they think needs to change? By nudging them to examine their own choices, you're giving them a mirror, not a manual. And that difference matters. Often, people don't need direction as much as they need perspective, a new lens to see their own reality more clearly. Still, even with this approach, there are those who, like the immutable, simply aren't ready to change. And that, too, is something we must accept. Not everyone wants growth. Some people prefer the comfort of familiarity, even when that comfort is harmful. Carl Jung put it plainly: some people prefer the pain they know over the unknown pain of growth. And that preference isn't yours to change. Understanding this frees you from the endless loop of trying to save someone. You don't owe anyone your exhaustion. You're not responsible for how someone chooses to steer their ship, especially if they're determined to sail straight into the storm. What you are responsible for is how you respond where you draw the line, and whether or not you continue to sit in a boat that's already sinking. Sometimes the kindest, wisest, most powerful thing you can do for both of you is to let go. Let go of the illusion that you can rescue someone who doesn't want to swim. Let go of the guilt. Let go of the fear that walking away means you've failed. Because in truth, walking away can be an act of love. Love for yourself, and even love for them, because it gives them the space to own their choices. Like tempered steel, forged in fire, your mind becomes stronger when it learns to protect its edges. Your peace is sacred. And the energy you preserve can now be directed toward people who truly value your presence and effort. Now, while the immutable may weigh us down with inaction, the next type can drain us in a much more cunning and subtle way. Let's talk about the manipulators, the emotional vampires who feed not on your generosity, but on your guilt. Picking up where we left off, the manipulators feed off your energy with calculated charm and emotional theatrics, leaving you drained and unsure of your own boundaries. But now we turn our attention to another subtle yet equally exhausting personality, the victim. The victim walks through life not as someone seeking empowerment, but as someone constantly searching for a scapegoat. They wear their misfortunes like medals, proudly displaying them in every conversation. Every setback is someone else's fault. Every obstacle is the universe conspiring against them. And if you listen closely, their endless stream of excuses starts to feel like a rehearsed monologue, one that's been delivered 100 times before. Unlike those who simply struggle through hard times, the victim refuses to take the wheel of their own life. They're not learning from the storm, they're blaming the wind. They are like a sailor who's lost at sea, not because they don't have a compass, but because they refuse to even look at the map. Instead of grabbing the helm and charting a course forward, they let the waves toss them around, always pointing to someone else when they crash into the rocks. It's easy to feel sympathy. After all, we've all been there, stuck, overwhelmed, unsure. But the danger with perpetual victims is that they don't want support. They want validation for their helplessness. If you're not careful, Their constant need for reassurance and emotional rescue can turn you into their life raft, dragging you under with them as they sink deeper into their own narrative of powerlessness. Modern Stoicism teaches us that strength begins with ownership. When we accept our role in our own suffering, we also reclaim the power to shape our future. But the victim resists this idea with all their might. They find comfort in their misery and identity in their struggles. And as long as you keep rushing in to rescue them, they have no reason to change. So what can you do? Just like with manipulators, boundaries are key. You can offer a listening ear, but you must also be brave enough to step back when the conversation becomes a cycle of blame. You can show empathy, but you must also recognize when your presence is enabling their passivity. Helping someone isn't about fixing their life, it's about empowering them to fix it themselves. The Stoics remind us that while we cannot control others, we can choose how we engage with them. Marcus Aurelius taught that, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." In this context, being a good person doesn't mean being endlessly available. It means living with clarity, strength, and purpose, even when that means stepping away from someone else's self-made storm. As you continue walking the path of Stoic wisdom, remember this: you are not responsible for someone else's refusal to take the reins. Let your energy serve growth, not stagnation. The victim may choose to drift, but you have the right to sail forward. And in the next part of our journey, we'll meet another type of person whose chaos often disguises itself as charm, the drama magnet. Get ready. Continuing from the previous insight about recognizing the victim mentality, we now delve deeper into how this mindset can silently drain your energy and clarity without you even realizing it. These individuals are often surrounded by sharks, as they call them. But instead of learning to swim smarter or finding safer waters, they spend all their time blaming the sea, the storms, and everyone else, never once looking at themselves. It becomes a performance, a never-ending play, where they cast themselves as the tragic hero and you as the worn-out audience member wanting to scream, "Change the channel." And maybe you've been there sitting quietly while they list out all the wrongs in their life like a child excitedly showing off a new toy. Their job is terrible. Their friends never understand them. The universe must be conspiring against them. All the while you're silently wondering, have you really done nothing to improve your situation? What they seem to forget or outright ignore is a fundamental truth. The power of change lies within. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But the victim, they've missed that lesson entirely. Instead of focusing inward, they remain stuck in a loop of blame and helplessness, like a fish pressing against the walls of its tank, unaware of the vast ocean that lies just beyond the glass. Rather than searching for new paths, they circle the same old excuses, content to stay where it's safe, even if it's stifling. So what can we do when we encounter someone who has made victimhood their identity? The answer isn't easy. Compassion naturally compels us to help, but there's a difference between helping someone who's struggling to get up and enabling someone who refuses to stand. The road of life is full of potholes, yes, but offering a map to someone who insists that every bump is someone else's fault doesn't solve anything. Sometimes the kindest, most responsible act is to let them experience the consequences of their own choices. Instead of rescuing them, become a beacon. Let your example show them that growth begins from within. As Epictetus wisely said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." If they're unwilling to challenge their own narrative, then stepping into their storm could leave you caught in the downpour. Stoicism teaches that we are only responsible for our reactions, not for the lessons others refuse to learn. That means recognizing that the victim doesn't need your sympathy. They need self-awareness. It's not about withdrawing support from those genuinely in need. It's about learning to tell the difference between those who want to take charge of their lives and those who just want to keep assigning blame. And in today's fast-moving world, it's all too easy to fall into the role of savior, giving more than you can afford emotionally while they remain unchanged. But here's the truth. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let them go. Give them space. Let them sit with their own discomfort. You're not abandoning them. You're giving them a chance to realize that the power to change has always been theirs. This happens more often than we think in families, friendships, workplaces. Some people cling so tightly to their victimhood that no amount of advice will shift their mindset. They're trapped in their own narrative, and unless they decide to rewrite it, your words will fall flat. And that's where Stoicism gives us a quiet kind of strength. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. The victim's thoughts have turned sour bitter with blame. Unless they change their mindset, they will never move forward. As someone striving to live by Stoic ideals, your job is not to fix their perspective. It's to guard your own. You do this by setting clear boundaries, by stepping back with grace, and by reminding yourself that your peace of mind matters too. You're not turning your back on them. You're turning your attention toward what you can control: your time, your energy, and your emotional health. And just when you've finally learned to step away from the constant complainer life, throws you another challenge. The next person you'll meet is a different kind of drain entirely. Not a victim, but a taker, someone who expects more than they give, and takes without limit. Let's explore how to recognize and respond to this type of person, guided once again by the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. Recognize that no matter how much effort you invest, it will never fill the void they refuse to confront within themselves. Stoicism reminds us to preserve our inner peace by directing our efforts where they can truly flourish. The narcissist, for all their loud declarations and grand displays, is often hiding a deep sense of insecurity that no external praise can fix. They pull you into their orbit, demanding constant affirmation, yet give little in return. Engaging with them can feel like standing in front of a mirror that only reflects their image, never yours. So, what should you do? The Stoic response is neither to attack nor to indulge them, but to protect your own integrity by stepping back with clarity and composure. As Epictetus taught, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. And that insight is liberating. You are not required to dance around their needs or to absorb the emotional turbulence they create. You have the right and the responsibility to decide where your attention goes. Begin by creating firm but respectful boundaries. If you find yourself constantly drained after conversations with a narcissist, that's not a coincidence. That's a pattern. Pay attention to it. Rather than hoping they'll change or finally reciprocate, accept what they've shown you time and again. As with any unhealthy dynamic, change doesn't come from fixing others, but from choosing better for yourself. Modern Stoicism empowers us to reclaim control, not over people, but over our own responses. You don't need to explain yourself, argue, or defend your withdrawal. Sometimes the most stoic thing you can do is quietly redirect your energy to where it is appreciated, where your efforts aren't treated like a bottomless resource, but valued as a gift. And here's something important to remember. Stepping away from a narcissist isn't giving up on someone. It's choosing not to give up on yourself. Life is too short to spend your time in the spotlight of someone else's ego. Instead, choose to walk toward people and places that reflect the kind of calm, purposeful life Stoicism teaches us to build. Because the truth is, the world is full of both takers and givers. And while takers might seem loud and unavoidable givers, the ones who share space, warmth, and understanding are worth waiting for. The narcissist will continue their performance, chasing applause from a rotating cast of spectators. But you, guided by Stoic wisdom, can exit the stage gracefully and step into a life that's more intentional, more peaceful, and above all yours. But narcissists aren't the only ones who drain us. Some do it subtly by playing the victim. Others do it openly by manipulating your empathy. And then there are those who disguise their selfishness in the name of love. In the next part of our journey, we'll uncover another complex type, the one who cloaks their control in affection. Let's move forward and learn how Stoicism helps us navigate even these tangled emotional landscapes. Firm lines around what you allow, you'll find your energy and peace slowly suffocated. The Stoics taught us that we are the gatekeepers of our own lives. As Epictetus once said, "No person is free who is not master of themselves." That includes being the master of your time. You don't owe endless access to people who don't respect the value of your schedule or your peace of mind. Time wasters often carry an aura of casual urgency. They drop by uninvited, stretch brief conversations into drawn-out sessions and make their disorganization your problem. They'll say, "It won't take long," but then monopolize your entire afternoon. And the worst part, they rarely recognize the cost of what they're taking. They don't see the minutes, hours, and focus. They're stealing only the momentary gratification of being heard, helped, or entertained. But here's a Stoic truth. Just because someone demands your time doesn't mean you are obligated to give it. Marcus Aurelius put it plainly. You could be good today, but instead you choose tomorrow. In other words, don't wait to set boundaries. Don't postpone protecting your peace. Choose to be intentional with your time now. Start small. When someone interrupts your flow politely, let them know you're in the middle of something important. Don't apologize for having priorities. You're not being rude, you're being responsible. If a conversation must happen, schedule it when you're available, not when they demand it. This shift may feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're someone who has long been available to everyone, but the discomfort is temporary. The reward is lasting. Modern Stoicism teaches us to live with focus and intention. Time is not just a resource, it's the foundation of everything we build in life. And just like a sculptor wouldn't hand their tools to someone who doesn't know how to carve, you shouldn't hand your time to someone who doesn't value it. Ask yourself this: are you giving your minutes to someone who will treasure them, or to someone who won't even notice they were given? Choose wisely. Your life is made of these moments. Every second matters. By setting clear boundaries and sticking to them, you reinforce the message that your time is valuable. And more importantly, you begin to align your daily life with your deeper goals and values. You move closer to that ideal Stoic mindset, calm, intentional, and undisturbed by the chaos of others. Still, time wasters are just one type of person who can quietly sabotage your well-being. Next, we'll examine another one. The person who refuses to grow, the one whose fear of change can drag you down with them if you're not careful. Let's continue this journey together as we learn how to navigate the presence of the stagnant with wisdom and strength. Picking up from our last reflection, we learned how essential it is to guard our time from those who squander it carelessly. But protecting your time is just the beginning. What matters next is how you assert your space and honor your priorities in a world that constantly tries to take more than it gives. If you don't make your boundaries clear, time wasters will continue to intrude into your life like unwelcome guests overstaying their welcome. You have to show both with your words and actions when you're available and when you're not. And most importantly, don't be afraid to say no. Saying no isn't rude, it's responsible. As Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." In this case, being a good person isn't about saying yes to everything. It's about being wise enough to protect your time, to communicate your availability clearly, and to stand by it. After all, your life shouldn't revolve around the expectations of others. It should revolve around the things that truly matter to you. That's why prioritizing your own agenda is not selfish. It's vital. Sit down and make a list of what's truly meaningful in your life. Then remind yourself often that your time is a resource as precious as gold. And like gold, it deserves to be protected, not handed out carelessly. When a time waster appears, someone who constantly drains your energy and sidetracks your focus, remember this. Some of the most powerful conversations you'll ever have are the ones you choose not to have. You don't owe everyone your time. And you certainly don't need to explain or defend why you're investing your energy into things that matter to you. When you focus on your goals and protect your schedule, you're not shutting others out. You're simply refusing to allow people who don't respect your time to dictate your life. Stoic wisdom can be a guiding light in moments like these. A Stoic wouldn't waste their energy trying to justify their choices to someone who doesn't value them. As Epictetus wisely said, it's not what happens to you but how you react to it that matters. So when someone tries to hijack your day, the Stoic response isn't frustration or guilt. It's calm, clear-minded resistance. It's a commitment to peace and purpose. And never forget this, your time is not unlimited. It's not something to be thrown away on people who don't appreciate it. In the chaos of modern life with its flood of messages, meetings, and social obligations, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking we must always be available. But the truth is, you are in control. The Stoic path teaches us to focus only on what's within our control, and how we spend our time is one of the few things in life we truly do control. Recognize that not everyone values time like you do, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that you do. That's where Stoic discipline comes in choosing how to manage your energy, where to draw the line, and when to say no. If someone tries to disrupt your day with trivial demands, don't feel guilty. A single no can save you countless hours of frustration and preserve your well-being. Think of it like tending a garden. You wouldn't water the weeds. You'd water the flowers, the ones that grow, and return your effort with beauty and nourishment. In today's world where distractions are endless and attention is currency, it's more important than ever to stay vigilant. Technology noise and unnecessary demands will always try to chip away at your hours. But Stoic wisdom reminds us that the power is in our hands. You can choose how to spend your time, and by establishing firm boundaries with those who waste it, you reclaim the moments that make life meaningful. At the heart of it all is one lesson: your time is your life. How you spend it shapes who you are. Time wasters are like silent thieves stealing what is most precious, and it's up to you to lock the door. As Seneca wrote, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. So don't let others steal what is most valuable. Learn to see through those who don't value your time. Set the boundaries that honor your priorities. Protect your energy, and in doing so, you'll live with greater peace, clarity, and purpose. Now, with that awareness firmly in place, we move forward to face another kind of challenge. Those who nod agree, and thank you for your advice, only to ignore it completely. Up next, the deaf one. Picking up from where we left off, we explored the frustration of offering advice to someone who never takes it, the deaf one. The Stoics remind us that our time and energy are too valuable to be wasted on empty gestures. So now we turn to yet another type of person who drains us in a different way, not by silence, but by noise. The dramatic person. The dramatic person is like a storm that never clears, constantly spinning tales of chaos and crisis. Wherever they go, they carry an emotional whirlwind, turning everyday situations into theater-worthy scenes. At first, you might feel drawn to help them, pulled in by their intensity, their urgency, their desperate need for support. But quickly you begin to realize the drama never ends. There's always another catastrophe, another meltdown, another reason they need you to drop everything and rescue them. These individuals thrive on attention and emotional upheaval. They amplify the smallest problems into major crises, and expect you to join them on that roller coaster. And if you don't, you're accused of being cold, distant, or uncaring. But let's be honest, does your presence ever actually solve their problems, or does it simply feed the fire? From a Stoic point of view, this is where we must draw a clear line. Seneca warned us that he who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary. The dramatic person lives in a constant state of self-inflicted suffering, and they often invite others into that chaos without regard for the emotional toll it takes. Trying to help the dramatic person is like trying to calm a hurricane with a whisper. No matter how rational, grounded, or supportive you are, the storm rages on, because it's not about finding peace, it's about maintaining the performance. They aren't seeking resolution, they're seeking reaction. And the more you engage, the more they pull you in. So what's the Stoic approach to handling this type of person? Detachment. Not coldness, not cruelty, but calm, intentional detachment. You can acknowledge their feelings without being swept away by them. You can show compassion without becoming part of the drama. Imagine yourself as a mountain, immovable and grounded, while the storm whirls around you. The mountain does not chase the storm, nor does it tremble at its winds. This is how the Stoic remains composed in the face of emotional turbulence. When the dramatic person tries to pull you into their spiral, respond with steadiness, not sympathy, that fuels their chaos. And when it becomes clear that their drama is a recurring act rather than a call for change, you have every right to step back. Not every plea is a crisis. Not every tear is a call to action. Your role is not to be the audience, the co-star, or the emotional anchor in someone else's soap opera. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. In other words, don't engage in what isn't necessary. Don't pretend something is urgent when it's not. Don't allow their narrative to dictate your reality. Instead, focus your energy on those who are seeking clarity, not chaos. Offer your presence to those who value peace over performance. And most importantly, protect your inner stillness from being stirred by someone else's need for drama. As we move forward, let's explore one final type of person, to be cautious around the one who agrees with everything, seems full of ideas, and yet does nothing. They may not bring noise like the dramatic person, but their quiet inaction can be just as draining. Up next, the idea hoarder. Picking up from where we left off, we've learned how the dramatic person thrives on emotional turmoil, often dragging others into their theatrical storms. But as modern Stoicism teaches us, wisdom lies not in trying to rewrite their script, but in choosing not to take the stage at all. We've all met someone who seems to have walked straight out of a Shakespearean tragedy. For them, every minor inconvenience spirals into disaster, and a single bad day becomes nothing short of an emotional apocalypse. It's as if they live their lives under a spotlight, performing for an invisible audience while you're stuck in the front row watching the drama unfold, whether you like it or not. Naturally, you might feel a pull to step in to offer guidance, thinking you're helping them steer through their storm. But here's a hard truth. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is not get involved at all. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic philosopher, reminds us that we hold power only over our minds, not over external events. Realizing this truth brings great strength, especially when dealing with the dramatic person. These individuals don't just experience emotions, they stage them. A spilled cup of coffee becomes a tragedy. A missed call turns into betrayal. It's like going to the cinema, expecting a quiet film, only for the lead actor to burst into tears and declarations of doom at every scene. They speak in tones that stir guilt, weave stories that demand sympathy, and hint that without your unwavering attention, their entire world might collapse. And yet, every time you offer help, it's like tossing gasoline into an already raging fire. Advice is ignored, comfort dismissed, and concern rewarded only with more complaints. It sounds exaggerated, but this is often the exhausting cycle of trying to help someone addicted to drama. The Stoics speak often about the importance of emotional detachment from what we cannot control, and here that wisdom is vital. The dramatic person lives in a storm of their own making, constantly stirring clouds and thunder to maintain their narrative. If you're not careful, you'll be pulled into their emotional vortex without even realizing it. So what can you do? The first step is clear, set firm boundaries. Imagine you're a photographer trying to capture beautiful landscapes. If you spend all your time trapped in the house of a dramatic person, your gallery will end up filled with nothing but dark skies and rainstorms. Setting limits doesn't mean you don't care. It means you're choosing to protect your peace and not let their turbulence cloud your life. Modern Stoicism teaches that compassion does not require proximity. You can care about someone and still choose to care for yourself more. Visualize an invisible shield around you, one that allows you to acknowledge their pain, but prevents it from becoming your burden. Like a superhero in your own story, you maintain kindness without sacrificing your inner calm. Sometimes what the dramatic person needs is not a savior, but a mirror. Instead of jumping in with solutions they won't use, try gentle questions that prompt self-reflection. Something as simple as, "Do you really believe this is the end of the world?" can be enough to plant a seed of clarity. You're not trying to fix them, just helping them look inwards. But don't expect instant change. The dramatic person is often deeply attached to their role. A moment of insight may dawn, but the show usually continues. And that's okay. Another often overlooked tool is humor. The Stoics understood that life can be absurd, and they embraced humor as a form of resilience. Seneca once said, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." When a dramatic friend launches into their latest catastrophe, a light chuckle and a playful comment like, "Sounds like you barely survived the end of the world again," might help them take a step back. You're not mocking them, but inviting them to see things through a less extreme lens. Humor won't fix everything, but it can crack the surface of their performance and let a little perspective shine through. And sometimes that small shift is enough to change the tone of the conversation, or at least protect your own sanity. So as we take a step back from the stage of high drama, let's turn to another type of person who drains our energy in a quieter but equally insidious way. They are full of ideas, always talking about their next big thing, but never taking action. Curious. Let's meet the perpetual dreamer. Continuing from where we left off, we've seen how emotional theatrics can drain our spirit, and why it's wiser to walk away rather than get caught in the endless storms of the dramatic. But just when you think the performance is over, another character emerges on life's stage, one far less explosive, but no less exhausting. Meet the ungrateful. Trying to help someone who constantly dwells in drama is like trying to empty the ocean with a small bucket. No matter how much energy and time you pour in, the waves of emotion keep crashing back, relentless and unforgiving. At some point, you must accept that some people are not seeking peace, but are instead addicted to the chaos they create. They don't want to be rescued, they want an audience, and that audience is you. But if you're not careful, you'll spend so much time trying to save them that you forget to save yourself. Modern Stoicism offers a clear message in moments like these: protect your energy and focus on what truly matters. Channel your compassion where it has the power to transform, not into the void, where your efforts dissolve into nothingness. The dramatic person, no matter how loud their cries or how dire their tales, often clings to the comfort of their self-made storm. In such cases, the greatest gift you can offer is space to let them navigate their chaos without you becoming collateral damage. Because in the end, life is far too short and far too beautiful to waste in someone else's never-ending theater. As the Stoics remind us, your peace, your focus, and your emotional balance are not optional luxuries. They are your lifelines. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. If your days are filled with someone else's storms, how can you ever find stillness within? Surround yourself with those who choose resilience over rage, who face life's struggles with grace rather than spectacle. Seek people who notice the small victories, who smile through the rain, who recognize that every day is a gift. These are the ones who make life feel lighter. These are the ones who will lift you when you stumble, not drag you into their own spiral. So when the curtains fall and the drama quiets, take a breath. Step back. Remember that you are not the director of someone else's stage. Your life is a story too, one worth living fully, peacefully, and surrounded by those who bring light. Now, speaking of those who drain us, let's look at a very different kind of person. Not loud, not theatrical, but just as disheartening, the ungrateful. Have you ever helped someone only to be met with cold indifference, as if your kindness was simply expected? Let's step into that story next, coming off the realization that not everyone will appreciate your kindness. We now arrive at another figure in this emotional landscape, one who doesn't drain your energy through neglect or chaos, but through constant dependence. You see, a plant can't grow in the shade forever. It needs sunlight to thrive. And just like that, no matter how generous you are, you're not an endless source of warmth and support. Setting boundaries with the ungrateful isn't about closing your heart. It's about shielding your energy from being poured into those who don't value it. In modern Stoicism, this is not just wise, it's essential. Think of it like saving your finest ingredients for a thoughtfully prepared meal rather than throwing them into a microwaved frozen dinner that no one even appreciates. Stoic philosophy urges us to be intentional with our time and energy. Both are precious and both are limited. Giving to someone who is grateful amplifies your kindness, creating a ripple effect of goodwill and appreciation. But giving to someone who sees your efforts as expected or even owed is like pouring into a bottomless pit. It doesn't fill them, it empties you. That's why one of the most overlooked yet powerful practices is cultivating gratitude within yourself. When you're constantly focused on lifting others, especially those who never look back to acknowledge your help, it's easy to lose sight of your own blessings. But taking even a few moments each day to recognize the good in your life, the people who do cherish you, and the quiet moments of peace you've built for yourself can restore that inner balance. As the Stoics wisely noted, he who is not contented with what he has would not be contented with what he would like to have. Your inner reservoir of peace shouldn't depend on someone else's thank you. It should come from within, from recognizing your worth and knowing where to place your efforts. And sometimes the hardest but most freeing truth is this: some people simply won't change. No matter how much you give, no matter how long you wait, they won't suddenly wake up one day with a heart full of appreciation. Imagine trying to fix a broken clock. You can keep adjusting the hands, replacing the batteries, polishing the face. But no matter what you do, it always shows the wrong time. At some point, you have to accept that it's not your job to repair it, especially if it was never built to keep time in the first place. Your responsibility is not to fix others, but to protect how much of yourself you offer. And that's the heart of Stoic wisdom, the acceptance that frees you. When you let go of the need for recognition from the ungrateful, you make space for the kind of relationships where appreciation flows naturally. You find people who see your value, who meet your kindness with warmth, who don't need to be reminded to say thank you. Because at the end of the day, your emotional balance matters. Your time, your spirit, and your kindness deserve to be met with equal respect. Like the Stoics remind us better to offer your generosity where it uplifts both you and the other person, rather than where it becomes a silent sacrifice. In a world that often takes more than it gives, choosing wisely where to direct your efforts is not selfish, it's survival. And as we reflect on the ungrateful, it brings us to yet another familiar type, someone who isn't destructive or dismissive, but simply unable or unwilling to stand on their own. The dependent. They carry their burdens not on their back, but in yours. Let's step into their story next. After learning how to guard your peace from the ungrateful and the overly dependent, we now move toward a deeper understanding that sometimes helping someone too much can actually hold them back, especially when they're not just seeking comfort, but expecting you to live life on their behalf. By now, it becomes painfully clear that the dependent person isn't just looking for a shoulder to cry on. They're looking for someone to steer the entire ship of their life. They want a captain, not a companion. And this is where the timeless wisdom of Stoicism becomes a compass. The Stoics remind us again and again, while we can't control the winds of life, we can adjust our sails. We can choose our responses, decide where to direct our energy, and define what we will and will not carry for others. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's greatest voices, said it plainly. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This quote isn't just poetic, it's deeply practical. It urges you to stop pouring your emotional energy into people who want to offload their problems onto you without any intention of change. When facing a dependent person, the first and most crucial step is setting boundaries. Imagine you're on a boat with them. Now picture them starting to drill holes in the bottom, all while expecting you to stay calm and keep rowing. Would you just sit there and let the water rise? Of course not. In the same way, you must let them know kindly but firmly that you are not available to solve every crisis for them. You are not their lifeline, and you're not obligated to drown just to keep them afloat. This doesn't mean you're unkind. On the contrary, being direct and honest is a powerful kindness. It lets them see, maybe for the first time, that they cannot rely on others to live life for them. The more you rush in to rescue, the less they learn to swim. The second approach is encouragement, not the kind that soothes, but the kind that gently pushes. Stop being their life raft and start being their coach. Ask them empowering questions. What would you do if no one were here to help? This question might seem simple, but it forces them to confront their own potential. It nudges them to stop waiting for a savior and to start becoming their own. Stoic wisdom has always emphasized self-reliance. By encouraging them to take responsibility, you're helping them reclaim their power step by step. But what if their emotions become too overwhelming, too contagious? That's when emotional detachment becomes your lifeline. If you feel like their problems are becoming your own, it's time to take a step back. Remember, you are not a container for someone else's despair. Practicing emotional detachment doesn't mean becoming cold. It means learning to dance to your own rhythm instead of being pulled into their downward spiral. It means acknowledging their struggles without letting those struggles define your state of mind. Sometimes being the voice of reason is the best help you can offer. While they may see their problems as towering, immovable mountains, you can help them shift perspective. You don't have to climb that mountain for them. Instead, help them see that maybe it's not a mountain at all. Maybe it's just a hill they've been told is insurmountable. You are not required to carry their weight. Your emotional energy is sacred, and it's your right to protect it. By learning to say no, by reinforcing healthy boundaries, and by encouraging others to stand on their own, you not only protect your own emotional well-being, you also give others the priceless opportunity to grow. As Marcus Aurelius so wisely noted, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Your inner peace, your clarity, your balance, they all begin with how you manage your mind and where you invest your energy. Ultimately, life isn't about carrying everyone. It's about walking beside those who are willing to take responsibility for their own steps. Because when someone is always leaning on you, they're never really learning how to stand. And the more you carry, the less they'll ever feel the need to walk on their own. Stoicism doesn't ask us to harden our hearts, but it does teach us to master ourselves, and through that mastery to inspire those around us. If you've followed this far, you're already living with intention. Comment below with "I choose my path" to show you're embracing your role as the author of your own journey. And as we continue, we now meet another figure who challenges even reason itself, the denier. Someone who clings so tightly to their own version of reality, no logic can break through. Let's explore how to navigate that next. Just as we've learned that enabling dependency can hinder growth, we now encounter another challenge, one even more stubborn, more resistant to help. The denier, someone so deeply entrenched in their version of reality that no logic, no evidence, no well-meaning advice can reach them. Imagine standing in front of someone wrapped in a blanket of illusions, even as the world around them blazes with clear signs that things are not as they believe. That's what it feels like trying to help a denier. Their refusal to acknowledge reality isn't just frustrating, it's like trying to push down a concrete wall with your bare hands. You could be waving red flags shouting truth from the rooftops, yet they'll stand firm, insisting all is well in their carefully constructed fantasy. Dealing with a denier is like trying to teach a fish how to fly. No matter how gently or patiently you try, it simply won't work. They've chosen their version of the world, and no amount of rational conversation or heartfelt reasoning can pull them from it. You might feel like you're holding a compass that faithfully points north, yet every time you offer direction, they look you in the eyes and say, "No, that's south." And they mean it. You point to facts, to logic, to what's plainly in front of them, but they stare back as if you're speaking another language. North doesn't exist, they declare. South is the new truth. And so there you are, grounded in reality, offering clarity while they spin deeper into their illusion. It's exhausting not because you lack patience, but because every effort feels like trying to fill a cup with a hole in the bottom. Even the ancient Stoics, known for their patience and calm in the face of chaos, might have thrown in the towel here. These are the people who believe that problems vanish if ignored hard enough, who think consequences don't apply if they close their eyes. And no matter how hard you try, you don't have magic powers to shatter someone else's fantasy world. So what can you do? The first truth is this: you can't force a shift in perspective. Trying to pull a denier into reality is like swimming upstream against a current that never lets up. Eventually, you'll burn out while they keep swimming in circles. Sometimes the wisest course of action is to stop paddling and let them drift. Let them know that while you care, your energy is not infinite, and you can't keep trying to rescue someone who doesn't want to be saved. One of the core teachings in modern Stoicism is understanding what's within your control. You can't change people no matter how much you want to. What you can control is how you respond. You can protect your peace, guard your time, and keep your emotional energy for those who value it. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That strength means letting go of battles that aren't yours to fight. If you're tempted to try one last time, sometimes humor can be a surprisingly effective key. A little playful irony might gently reveal the absurdity of their stance without confrontation. A lighthearted comment can open doors that stubborn arguments never will. But even this isn't guaranteed. And if it doesn't work, that's okay too. Being around a denier often feels like trying to fight shadows, exhausting and ultimately futile. That's why it's so important to stay anchored. Surround yourself with people who see the world clearly, who walk in truth, and who are open to growth. Because not everyone is ready to leave their illusion, and that's not your fault. Letting go of a denier isn't cruelty. It's clarity. It's self-preservation. Life is too precious to waste, convincing someone that the sun rises in the east. Let them walk their path, even if it leads nowhere. The Stoics remind us that true strength lies in knowing when to step back. As the philosopher Epictetus wisely said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. So if you're faced with someone who clings to denial, like it's their lifeline, the most powerful choice you can make is to protect your own peace. Smile, let go, and move forward without guilt. Comment below with "Not all battles are mine" if you've ever faced this struggle. We'd love to hear your story. And don't forget, like, share, and subscribe to Stoic Secrets. Turn on notifications so you never miss an episode, because there's more timeless wisdom coming your way, lessons that will help you navigate life's toughest moments with clarity, strength, and grace.